Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Hello. It is feeling like spring here in Alabama. Flowers are starting to bloom.
Well, at least there's some positive stuff.
Yeah. It was a
Flowers
heavy
are blooming in
weekend.
Alabama.
It was a heavy weekend.
It was. Heavy weekend. We had to adjust our outline this morning for those who may have saw our updated, or maybe not updated, but our out of date outline on the live show. So we'll make sure the show notes are translated to a little bit different of topic array or coverage today. We are also experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties on Brandy's side getting her up. So once we get her back on stage, she'll be incorporated back in the conversation. But how was the weekend outside of all the news that we're about to jump into on this episode? Good weekends. Flowers are blossoming or whatever, blooming. Is that the right word?
It was a weekend spent out in the yard. Beautiful weather, absolutely perfect temperature, calm. Kids enjoyed it, like covered in dirt and mud and worms and bugs, but as a little boy's backyard should be.
Of course, as always. Love it. How about you, Jamie?
I was in beautiful Shreveport, Louisiana over the weekend. We did a big family get together to say goodbye to my grandfather. So it was good to see everyone. Nice closure. So, and got to meet some family members out in Louisiana that I'd never met before. So all the Walcotts out there, it was fun to see them.
That's cool. Well, at least it's a good reconnection, I guess. Yeah.
And nothing beats some crawfish boils and nice Creole Louisiana
crawfish season.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah, some good eats out there. Some good eats, that's for sure. Well, I love it. For those who are just tuning in, make sure you comment where you're joining us from. We do, of course, always love seeing our fan favorites. We have Paul Manzi joining us on YouTube. Shout out to Paul, one of our loyal listeners on both GMH episodes, Monday and Wednesday. But yeah, let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to see all the different destinations as we cover these topics. But since we're still working on some tech issues and finished basically catching up from the weekend, should we jump right on into our main stories of the day? Or the week, I guess. Weekend.
Weekend.
Yeah, it's a lot changed this weekend. So how about Michael, you go ahead and open us up with what's going on in the Middle East.
I think everybody kind of knows what's going on in the Middle East. I think from a travel perspective, people are stuck. One of my good friends is stuck there. He took a taxi from Dubai to the Oman border, trying to get out to India today. So they've been stuck all weekend, hearing bombs, missiles go off with his whole family. So absolutely terrifying. I hope everybody that's able to get out gets out as quickly as they can. But the airport's been hit, and there's no real safe way out at the moment while missiles and drones are continuously dropping down. So get to wherever you can to get safe. It's a scary time, but hopefully this doesn't last long and everybody can get out.
For sure. And Jamie, you have obviously the numbers to kind of like keep front of mind for a lot of our listeners and viewers. So I'm kind of curious on your perspective, outlook, and what you're kind of seeing in the data.
Yeah. So and obviously a super scary situation. And I've analyzed multiple wars over the years, and there's no getting around wars suck. And it is devastating for everyone involved. And the travel industry is always one of the most impacted sectors. It is, and what happens, and for those countries directly involved, and for obvious reasons, no one wants to go there. And that sort of sticks around for a long time. There is a lasting fear of travel to those areas. And it takes a long time for the image of drones going into hotels or apartment buildings or airports getting bombed for people to want to start to travel back to those areas, and direct impact on US, rest of Europe. And we're already seeing oil prices spike up 10% over the weekend. Stock market's down 1.5%, and cruise ship airline stocks are all down anywhere from 5, 10, and plus percent now. And that is going to have direct impact on travel throughout the entire region. And how to think about gas prices. And there's sort of some rule of thumbs, like a $10 increase in oil roughly and impacts gas prices by about 25 cents. So overall impact pretty low for consumers, but those industries like airlines and cruise lines, like that's going to be a direct impact to their bottom line, and also start to flow through into higher air travel prices and cruise ship fees. So we're also watching the region. So UAE, Dubai is huge for short-term rentals. It's been one of the fastest growing markets in terms of both overall supply and demand. Is huge. There's over 45,000 listings in that market, which is a big market. Saudi Arabia too, a very large market, over 30,000 listings now in that area. Israel is a market that has been seen a lot of volatility over the past few years, and since 2023. We did see the 12-day war with Iran earlier in 2025. And there we saw cancellation spike over 5x. And for pretty specific or significant time that we saw a decrease in bookings. So it's something, and we'll report on next week, as well as we see the sort of fallout, cancellations, reduced booking activity. And we will see, and I already see a lot of the hotels being able to accommodate travelers. It looks like governments are stepping in and looking to cover some of those costs. But we're going to see a long time impact to travel to the Middle East from this.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
By the way, government stepping in and covering tourists' costs to stay as long as they need to or they have to. Absolutely unprecedented. I mean, I've certainly never seen anything even locally with local governments doing such a thing. So, for particularly Dubai, UAE, for a place that's historically one of the safest places to go, it's certainly going to leave a lasting challenge to overcome for the big conferences and business attraction that they've had for a long time. So hope it can all resolve and as quickly as possible. But certainly extremely scary stuff.
Well, one of the things that's kind of mentioned a lot with Sarah Kopit and Seth Borko on our other Skift podcast, the Skift Travel Show, is how fast this news cycle is, that it almost feels like, the news cycle is moving so quickly that, Mexico seems like a thing of the past, right? Where it was literally just last weekend, we were witnessing the Mexico cartel chaos impacting all those tourist destinations there, Puerto Vallarta, and just how that does feel like kind of like a cliche, like that's so last year, it's like, oh my gosh, these cycles are moving so quickly that, keeping things top of mind is actually getting harder and harder, I would say, from a overall perspective, just to stay on top of what's happening in the news. So, hopefully that, the updates are minimal. We don't have to see more war continuing, and don't have to see a constant battle of these destinations and these locations having to continue to recover after having a good period of growth, like you were saying, for Dubai and these other destinations. So, speaking of Mexico, I guess, Jamie, last week we promised the listeners that we give them quite an update on cancellations and the fun data that you guys have seen around there. No, not really fun. Sorry, I take that word back. But the data that you have seen around cancellations. So would you want to jump into the Puerto Vallarta stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely not fun, but interesting, to say the least, in terms of what we're seeing in terms of overall booking activity. So cancellations have spiked, and we're seeing overall cancellation rate in Mexico at now over 50%. Fortunately, most of that activity has been um, isolated to the area around Puerto Vallarta. We're seeing some uptick in cancellations in the Cancun Tulum region, but not nearly what we see on the west coast of Mexico. So far, a lot of the impact has been isolated there, though it has been devastating in terms of the amount of cancellations that come through, and just future bookings have fallen off a cliff in terms of where people are choosing to book. Um, I've also been keeping a close eye on World Cup bookings and cancellations, because that is a big worry heading into the summer. Puerto Vallarta is very close to Guadalajara, and we've seen a lot of cartel activity in Guadalajara, which is one of the World Cup cities. So far, all the cancellations have been really isolated to February and March, a little bit of April, and not yet for June and July when the World Cup would be. But keep an eye on that for, I think, Guadalajara, Mexico, and Monterrey. And then, yeah, and just overall booking trends. And Mexico had been really popular for Canadians. Canadians are running out of places to book. So maybe that will help US some, but so far we're not seeing any overall change in activity of where people are booking. We're not seeing US pullback yet in any major meaningful way to bookings to Mexico, bookings to Europe. So that'll be something we keep an eye on, of, as it has happened in the past, where when there has been war in the Middle East, that people just start to pull back in Europe in general, just because of the proximity. And sitting here at the beginning of the March, this is prime sort of summer booking season, when people are starting to plan their trips. And I'm sure the videos of bombings throughout the Middle East could have some impact, but still too early to tell yet.
I believe there were even some missiles that reached Cyprus. So that's a pretty far point east in Europe, but still nonetheless shows some range there. I would suspect to see a little bit stronger domestic travel this year, given all of the happenings in the world. But to your point, it's a little early to tell some of that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, in other news, we have something that's a little bit more official finally from our friends at Vrbo and Weather Promise. So I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. Weather Promise or weather guarantee type solutions that the OTAs are providing for not just only your stay, as in your lodging, but that sounds like a lot of the flight coverage. I know a lot of these companies have also gotten into event coverage. So if your golf tournament or whatever gets rained out, then guess what? You get a refund. And so Vrbo and Weather Promise have officially gone live, and now guests can pay the fees to get refunds when it rains during a stay. So
I love it. I've loved this from the get-go. I think there's lots of reasons to travel, and you don't always need the coverage. But if you're going on a golf trip to anywhere and you want to make sure that you're going to have good weather, or you're going to get your money back and you can take another trip, it's a perfect solution for any outdoor events, or even a family trip to the beach, or a family trip to the mountains going skiing or hiking. What it doesn't cover, though, is forward-looking cancellations. So if you haven't traveled yet and your flight gets snowed out and you can't even get to the property, it's not covered. It is only for during stay coverage, which makes sense. But the article outlines some challenges people have had on understanding what is and what isn't covered. But big kudos to Vrbo for adopting such a cool and innovative tech. the math works out somewhere between 5 and 10% of the stay is the fee, and that's the hedge or the bet that the weather's going to be fine and guaranteed good weather. So I like this.
Would you guys end up using it?
Circumstantially, yes. I mean, not every travel do I care much about the weather, but if Jamie and I are specifically going on a hiking trip and we're stuck inside having to debate things left and right, I'd want some money back in that case.
What do you think we'd be doing on the hiking trip besides debating things left and right?
Well, I'd be huffing and puffing. That's for sure. The amount of words coming out of my mouth would not be nearly as voluminous.
Yeah, and
I always interesting trip to pick for the two of you hiking.
I always love to hear things coming out of beta and getting deployed. Of like, obviously, customers liked it, and we talked about it a few months ago when we first sort of brought up this story. And generally, I just hate insurance products. It's usually harder to claim. And then you go through an hour on the phone and then you don't get it anyway. But the fact that they measure it, they pay it out automatically if it does rain. You don't have to go through the whole filing a claim and process like that. I don't buy insurance for stuff like that just because I know I'm not going to actually go back and figure out how to get paid. If
you don't have to. If it rains, they send it to you.
That's why I like it.
Yeah. Well, that's the friction that insurance creates, right? Cool. They create that friction intentionally so that way people don't go through the process to claim it and then they keep your money. So
I hope they keep it.
My gut is at mass scale or adoption, they're going to flip it and then create some friction that people have to do it. But
so pessimistic.
In the meantime, enjoy.
Yeah. Very funny. Well, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. So we touched on Vrbo, but really some eye-watering numbers came out from a Focusrite article last week that the OTA's marketing spend in 2025 combined to be over $20 billion. So anyone who's got an ad budget of a few thousand or tens of thousands, that's great. You got to have some, but the big boys are going to outcompete time and time and time again. What's crazy is this number has grown pretty quick, pretty fast. So in 2023, it was 16.8. And last year, 2024 was 17.8 billion. So go from 17.8 to 20 billion, Jamie. I'm not a mathematician, but that's more than a 10% growth year over year, right? That's a huge growth.
10% growth. Yep.
Yeah, huge growth in marketing spend in 1 year. What do you think's driving that?
I suspect it's the rise of social media and like that it's actually helping. And so much of OTA marketing spend now is travel inspiration. So it's getting you excited about making that trip, excited about where you're going to go. And then at the end, you're like, oh yeah, like there's this brand Expedia or Booking or Airbnb that's I'm causing that ad and maybe I'm more likely to then use that app to book that trip. But I love what we see from the OTAs spending more. And I do see that it actually increases the overall pie for trips. And it happens across the stack. It's airlines, it's hotel chains, it's the OTAs. They're all doing their part to get more people to travel, and it's net beneficiary to everyone.
I was going to ask in terms of this growth, like you said, social media. I'm curious. So does that mean they're spending less on Google and more into like video and other digital marketing, or is it still like?
I think they're seeing increase, and a lot of what's driving it, like they're still seeing performance marketing from Google. So if you're searching, and that's a lot of
So the sponsored
top
links
of the
are working.
funnel, we're gonna and take that and search intent and make sure it sort of gets booked through our channel. But then a lot of the other channel, whether it's billboard, TV, radio, and I would bucket in that also social media, Instagram, TikTok,
Podcasts.
Facebook, podcasts of getting you excited about travel, showing you where you could be going, the beautiful beaches in Thailand,
World
or
Cup, the
or
national
the-
championships, the major sporting events, the major collaborations with celebrities. Like, yeah, it's a huge bucket to pull from. But to put it in perspective, Booking spends 30% of their total revenue on ads. Airbnb 21%, Trip Group 24%, and Expedia spends about 50% of their total revenue on ads.
Wow.
Or in marketing. So it's a huge bucket. It's a big bucket for every business, for every company. But 25 to 50% of revenues that are in the billions obviously are adding up quickly and exponentially growing.
And that's where, I know you guys don't listen to the earnings calls, but
one day we will.
And they sort of called out that they had higher marketing spend in their fourth quarter. And like the analysts actually asked them about it. And they're like, is this a trend? Is this something you expect to be doing? And they're like, if we see efficient channels, we spend money and it returns good returns, we're going to keep plowing more money into it.
Business 101.
Business 101. Yeah. It's not something you can always plan on, but if they see good ways to spend money to drive more bookings through their channels, they're going to do it.
100%. I was going to say there's a lot of people, at least in our industry, that I've seen that will pour a lot of ad money into bad creative and wonder why even their paid performance isn't as great. And so I think a lot of listeners now, like a good way to test is to see maybe obviously the different spending. Social media, this is like the area you can do it, but if something performs well organically, that's when you add the fuel to the fire. You don't just boost something or start doing paid ad campaigns that aren't really tested organically. That's something I've seen work out really well. If it does well organic, then the paid works really well versus just paying for creative that you don't know if it's going to work or not. So I think there's a lot of good testing that could be done for the smaller companies of people that are listening. But yeah, these $1 billion plus spends. Yeah, if they see something that's working, I would imagine they just shift the funnel pretty quickly. But
yeah,
that's just me.
I'd be curious to see what the breakdown of like brand marketing versus conversion or ROI based marketing is. Brand marketing is tough to track, but it's for these big ones crucially important. Airbnb having their logo next to the Olympics and Expedia having it next to the national championship, right? Those are huge spots that everybody sees, that builds the brand and people, keeps it top of mind, that then their conversion marketing can flip over into in the future. And that's just stuff simply that small businesses can't do. We can't go sponsor the Super Bowl or FIFA or even have
Formula One.
Yeah, we just can't do that. So the smaller companies have to focus purely on conversion-based marketing and less brand-based, which makes sense. But that leaves a huge moat between them and the rest of us. And I'll bucket the major flags in this too. Marriott has budget to go do some big stuff. Hilton, Hyatt, IHG. But it's, that moat feels like it's growing bigger and bigger. And I think the data is showing it a more than 10% growth year over year in marketing shows they want to retain that moat for as long as possible. Now, Jamie, does AI disrupt this or not?
I was just gonna. That was my question in my head. I was like, so when AI comes in, how badly does this shake up?
I suspect near term AI just increases the efficiency of the ad, and they're able to create 30 different versions of the same ad test the one that converts most, create. I'm sure it's coming that we're all going to have personalized ads show up in our feeds that speak directly to your profile, because the ads are going to be able to be created dynamically on the fly, that speak directly to that user. So, and I think AI is going to dramatically change it and ultimately help drive more demand for travel.
Have we seen, I think we saw Booking publicly say they're going to do or already doing ad spend within ChatGPT. Have Expedia and Airbnb stated such yet? Airbnb is not even tied in yet.
Airbnb is not touching it yet. Expedia is. So they're both going to they're both testing Expedia and Booking, and getting into ads for ChatGPT. Airbnb, I don't think. I think they're still a long way off of revealing what their LLM, at least
$200 billion or $200 billion investment is.
Yeah.
They're spending a lot in terms of internal LLM tools, but not yet external.
Do you think it's going to be a big reveal or a big letdown?
I'll bet on the bigger reveal, because I think when Airbnb does something and they take this long to roll out something, usually it's probably going to be pretty good. Or yeah, so I'm just going to go with the fact that they're taking their time. I'm going to say it's going to be a big reveal.
Jamie? I think Jamie's going to say big reveal, but
no, I bet they've launched a lot of things over the past 5, 6, 7 years. Nothing's really hit. I'll say that there'll be a lot of hype around it, but ultimately a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you'd be staying on the sidelines for so long when your competitors are quickly ingraining themselves in a search function that is 80 million people a week. It's, somebody can fact check me, but it's a stupid number. And to sit on the sidelines, I don't understand it, but I'm sure they have a very smart reason for doing so, and I can't wait to talk about it when they do.
Yeah.
But exactly. Also, like, you listen to Glenn and he's like, we're investing into it. And the analysts are asking, like, what are you seeing as impact? Like, it's such a small volume compared to all the other channels. And they called out, like, it's a small channel and it's not really growing. Like, and maybe it turns into something, but it's not like Airbnb's missing the opportunity right now. Like, there's not yet an opportunity that's been sort of created for additional, as an additional channel.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a story that came out, I think, on Saturday from one of our tech reporters, Adriana, and it's talking about how hospitality brands and tech brands in the space, or travel brands in general, are building on AI for a customer that doesn't really exist. As in, like, travelers aren't really using AI to search travel. Like, yeah, maybe they'll play around with it or do, some
plan their trip.
But like what you're saying, the pool of users or the conversions is so small that it really is a small drop in the bucket. So I don't know, like, AI, there's a lot of companies getting in, and I feel like personally it's overhyped. I put a post on LinkedIn last week or two that just says, like, dude, I don't think that we're seeing much phenomenal AI growth or something that really is game changing, in my opinion. But for all the hype that it's getting, right? Like, there are stuff that's really efficient for. I'm definitely a user for work, but I don't know. I don't believe that the traveler is really using AI as their trip booker yet, and I doubt they will for a while, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I can promise you is we will bring it up very regularly on the show. It is a hot topic that evolves very quickly.
Yeah.
And we learn stuff new every day. Maybe 2 weeks ago, Jamie inched more in my direction. And then maybe last week I inched a little bit more in his direction. So who knows? Stay tuned. We could flop sides. We could MMA fight it out. Who knows? But stay tuned, and we look forward to tracking the latest for you.
Of course. Well, That wraps our episode today. For all the live viewers, thank you for tuning in. And for the listeners that didn't hear Brandy, we're sorry. We had some really bad tech issues. So when traveling and technology just doesn't work the way it's supposed to, it makes running a live show a little harder than expected. But she'll be back on the show next week. What do we have on the pipeline for you guys this week? Anything you're looking forward to? Anything exciting, or same old, same old?
We've got spring break next week, so I will not be on the show. We're going down to Dolphin Island and doing some fishing.
Lovely. Nice.
I will be on the show next week, but I've got the AirDNA team, data science, and some of the research team coming up to Atlanta for an offsite.
Nice.
Make them come to you.
I was gonna say, are we using the vacation rental?
A mix. So I have them staying in a placemaker property, the Scout Living. So it's the sort of blended short-term rental hotel, Hilton's new brand, but I still put them squarely in the short-term rental camp.
Yeah,
and they had a great boardroom for us to use for the week. So
perfect.
You're skipping the iconic Claremont Hotel.
It is within walking distance, but no, this is a work event. We will not be, and maybe we'll go to the rooftop at the hotel, but not the basement lounge.
Yeah.
For those Atlanta.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I love a good boardroom, so have fun. Definitely definitely bring up some of the stuff that you guys are talking about next week. I would be curious. I would love to be a fly on the wall, to be honest. see all the numbers flying around.
Smuggle a microphone in.
Yeah, be a secret report. But yeah, seriously, great episode. Thanks for taking the time this Monday to listen. If you are a new listener, make sure to like and subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts, and to follow along on LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., wherever you get your podcasts and your content. But until next time, we'll see you guys again next week.